Hey guys, Tim from Red Goat Garage here, and today I actually wanted to make kind of a boring video, but one that I think is really informative and important, and that is how to get sponsored. Now, throughout my career, I've been sponsored hundreds of times for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of parts, and I've also been on the other end where I've been sponsoring people and giving out parts. So I've been on both sides of the fence, so I know what to look for, or I'm going to tell you what I look for in a sponsorship. And this pretty much is pretty universal on any company that you're trying to get sponsored with. First and foremost, if you can't afford that part, then don't ask for it for free. And I mean, nothing drives me crazier when these people say, I'm going to go to all these events that are coast to coast and, compete and this and that, but then you're asking for a couple $1,000 part. Like, if you can't afford to go to these, or if you can afford to go to these events, and you could afford the part, right? So, it just, or guys that are like, I'm going to build the coolest Chevelle ever built. And, but you can't afford to, because that's why you need free parts, right? But that's not really a reason that deserves sponsorship. Just because you can't afford it doesn't mean the company should be giving them away. They're in the business to make money, not to give out free parts, right? So, don't ever expect anything for free. So, if you're going to me like thinking, oh, I'm going to just get these parts for free, then forget it. And I have guys that do that where, I take the time out of my day to review everything, verify everything, and give them what I feel is appropriate sponsorship. And mind you, sponsorship too is not always just a free thing. Sometimes it's just a discount. And one company I do some work for, that's all we do is we just do discounts. We do not give anything away for free. And there's multiple people that are like, man, I was hoping for free. And I'm like, well, sorry, and I'm very professional with it, but in the back of my mind thinking, I'm never going to even give you anything. And it just shows me that you're not serious about my company, my product, because all you're looking about is free. So, moving on, there's a few different things here. So I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of a list. So those are the first couple. Brand representation. So when I give you parts, or when I receive parts, we're a team, right? So like if I don't know, Billy Bob's Wheels gave me wheels for a car, well, then I feel like I'm a brand representative, because I am, right? I'm out there representing that company. And so I need to do whatever it takes to put on a professional image for that company. So whether that's on Facebook, in person, over the phone, whatever it is, I always make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward, that I'm professional with the other people, right? So I don't go out there ranting and raving about all sorts of issues on Facebook, and I don't, stir the pot, so to speak. I'm very just professional on social media, because it's not only a representation of me, but it's a representation of the companies that I work for. So on the flip side, if you're looking at sending you parts or a sponsorship, then I'll look on your social media. Like, if you're over there pissing people off and posting hateful things, or things that aren't professional, then I'm like, I don't want to work with you. I don't want you representing my brand, right? So that's one thing you really need to pay attention to before you ever start looking at all these companies. So the other thing is do your research a little bit, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that. But I get sometimes people are like, hey, I need these parts. I need wheels. I don't represent any wheel companies, but again, going back to Billy Bob's Wheels, let's say I worked for this Billy Bob's Wheels, and they say, hey, I need wheels for my car. And it's like, well, I look it up, and I'm like, we don't even make wheels for your car, right? And it's like, man, it's like you want sponsorship, but you can't even take 5 seconds to find out if the company even makes product for your car, like it shows extreme laziness on my end. You know, like all I see is this guy's just looking purely for some free parts, and that's all he cares about is just getting free stuff. Like, how much free stuff can I get? Like, he's never going to believe in the brand and represent that brand and promote that brand properly, because all they were looking for is just some free stuff, right? So, you know, research, find out what parts fit your vehicle, if that company even makes parts that fit your vehicle. Maybe have an idea too, like, hey, I was thinking about this product A, but maybe product B is a better fit. What do you think? You know, and kind of act like you've researched and spent more than 2 seconds shooting them a message on Instagram, which is another little pet peeve of mine, is don't just message these companies on Instagram or Facebook and say, sponsor me, I want to be sponsored, how do I get sponsored? Like, don't, you know, look, the bare minimum you can ask, how do I get sponsored? But even then, like, I can guarantee 99% of the time you're somebody that I'm not going to sponsor. You know, the guy that says like, hey Billy Bob's Wheels, I really love your wheels and I'm working on a 69 Camaro, who do I talk to regarding sponsorships? I'm more than happy to pass along the right information, because generally speaking, sponsorships aren't going to happen over Facebook or Instagram. You know, so take that time to figure out who do you need to talk to. Maybe give them a call, introduce yourself, write an email, and on the same token, have some sort of proposal, you know, to go with that. So I'll get back to proposals here in a second, but one of the biggest things, and going off of that, finding out who to talk to, is relationships. So you need to create a relationship not only with that brand, but with that marketing person as well. So I've spent years doing this, where I've gone to trade shows and said hello. I've gone out to dinner with these people. I've seen them at shows and chatted with them and this and that. They need to know that they can trust you, and I need to know that, you know, they can trust me, right? So if they're going to give me parts, like, they don't want to just say, well, you know, hey, here you go, and hope that I do the right thing and actually promote them. They want to know that I'm going to actually do what I say. Now, to bring an extreme point to this, there's some companies that I can literally text them. I can just, you know, grab my phone here, text them, and next week there's parts on my door, because I don't need to give them the big long proposal or anything. I've done that in the past. I've built a relationship. They know that they give me parts, they're getting all the promotion in the world, that I'm going to be properly representing them and everything else. So building relationships is by far, out of anything I've said in this entire video, and I'm going to say, that's probably the biggest thing, is you have to build those relationships. And so going back to the free thing, maybe the company doesn't offer you free parts. Maybe they don't even offer you a discount. You say, okay, great, thanks for your consideration. How do I purchase these parts? So even if it's a 10%, 20, 30% off, buy the parts. That shows that you're serious with that company and those parts, and that you're going to, therefore, you know, you're invested in them, right? So they're putting out some parts for you. You're covering their costs on that at least, and then you can start to build that relationship. So maybe the first time around, they don't even give you a relationship. Then, or I'm sorry, give you a sponsorship. Then the second time, maybe they're like, hey, this guy did pretty good for us. Let's throw him a bone, and bam, there you go. You get 15% off. Cool. Now you guys have a little bit of a relationship. They know who you are. They know what you do. They know what you represent. But then maybe it goes even farther, that you work up towards, you know, getting free parts. And that's, I mean, probably your ultimate goal if you're watching this video. But really, like, you gotta just, you know, like when you're out to date, you know, you meet the person, you go on a date, you get to know each other before you get married, right? So you gotta work on that and build up to that. So, and the other big thing here, and these are kind of my two biggest points, but all the other ones are still important, but my biggest ones is, what can you do for me? So what I mean by that is, if I'm the manufacturer and you propose to me a sponsorship, or send me a proposal, is what can you do for me that I can't do myself? So let me give you an example. So if you say, hey, I got a Facebook page that has, or let's go say Instagram page that has 5,000 followers on it, and I'm going to promote you on there. But if the company I'm working for has, say, 100,000 followers on it, then why do I need to sponsor you on your 5,000 when I have a greater reach on my own brand's, social media, right? So I look at it as, what can you do for me that I can't do myself? Are you going to these events that I'm not going to be at and you can represent us? There's some value. Do you have a large, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever audience that's centered around my brand or my market? Then yeah, that's something that you can offer. And so really it's doing stuff that I can't do myself. And that's really what I look for a lot, is what can you do for me? And I know that sounds mean, but that's the reality of it, is I'm giving you basically money out of the company's pocket in order to more or less hire you to promote us, right? It goes back to that relationship. It goes back to, being a partner, having that relationship. So I always look at it that way. So you need to be able to offer value to that company, and however that is, right? So yeah, like if you're a huge name in the industry, like say David Freiberger, most people know who he is. That guy's huge, right? So not only does he have a big following, but he's on TV, he's on YouTube, all this other stuff. So when, like say he hit me up for a sponsorship, I know that if I send that stuff to him, he's a professional. He knows how to do it. He's going to promote me. He's going to say good things about my company and my products, etc. So it's all about those relationships and what can you do for me. So going further with this a little bit is, don't go fishing. And what I mean by that is, I see proposals all the time with a competitor's name in the email, and almost 99.9% of the time I'm going to instantly just delete that email. I'm not going to answer that phone call, whatever it is. So I know that basically you're going out there and you're hitting up, so you're going back to Billy Bob's Wheels, you're hitting up all these wheel companies and you're just looking for whoever's going to give you free shit. And to me that shows, number one, you're extremely lazy, because you can't even change the name in the proposal, right? You're sending a proposal and you can't even change the name to my company. So like that's really bad etiquette. It's like, going on a date with a girl, or marrying a girl and calling her your ex-girlfriend's name or something like that, right? It's just something you don't do. And two, like, it shows me that we all go fishing, so to speak. Sure, I've hit up multiple companies for the same product in the past, but I've made sure that I've tailored that proposal for that specific company, use their logos, use their name, everything. So that way it's specific for that company. And I don't tell them, that I went to their competitors either. So generally, like I said, if you can't take the time to just even proofread your email, that shows me you're never going to take the time to properly promote the products or my company, right? So I hate people that go fishing, and I see it all the time, especially around SEMA time, where people are just trying to build these cars on a shoestring budget, and because they don't have the money, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to just send this out to all these people, and that stuff drives me nuts. So one of the other things here is, going off of that too, is a proposal. So you need to have a really nice proposal. All day long I get messages on Facebook and Instagram, hey, sponsor me, and it's like, dude, that's insanely lazy. Like, nobody wants to sponsor some guy that just hit him up on, slid into those DMs, whatever. If you take the time to hire a graphic designer, you can hire him pretty cheap to create a proposal for you. That's going to speak volumes over the guy that doesn't. So have all the information in there: your name, your contact information, your shipping address, your all your social media channels, like pictures of your vehicle, whether that's a rendering, the current state it's in, previous things that you've done, things like that. Like, give me this entire packet. I mean, this is like, we're in an interview and this is you handing me a resume, right? Like, you wouldn't go to an interview without a resume, so don't come proposing to me without some sort of proposal, right? So, spend the time. It'll honestly speak volumes. And I've had a few guys that I'm like, man, like they're sponsorship package, their proposal just blew me out of the water. And I'm like, this is a guy that's taking it serious, or girl for that matter, but this is a person that's taking it serious, that is going to do what they say they're going to do. I mean, they took the time out of their day to build this entire proposal and everything. And I mean, almost all of them that have ever done that, they've gotten stuff, right? Because it shows me usually if they're doing that, they're doing everything else right also. So that's another thing. Along those same lines and moving forward here, or I'm just about done here because I know I'm rambling on, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about this. Stick to your word, right? So if you say you're going to take your car to these 3 shows, take it to these 3 shows, and follow up. Okay, this is huge. Follow up. So if you took it to these 3 shows, take pictures of your car at those shows, showing off. Tag the companies on social media. Email pictures to the marketing guy. Like for an example, one time, this is 10 years ago, my Chevelle was sponsored by a company, and then the Chevelle ended up getting shot for Chevy High Performance magazine. And when that magazine hit the shelves, I went back to Chevy High and said, hey, can I order a literal box full of these magazines that had my car in it? And they said, sure. And so I bought a box of the magazines. Every single company that sponsored me, I wrote a letter thanking them, and it was specific to their company. Thank you for the gauges. Thank you for the air in the tires. Thank you for the, whatever it was. I thanked them for their specific product. I said it was shot for Chevy High. I printed them out. I signed them by hand, and I stuck it in the magazine right where the feature was at, and I mailed them all out. And I know that they appreciated it. And there was one guy in particular that called me, and I'll never forget it. He was like, dude, that was amazing. He's like, thank you for doing that. He goes, nobody has ever done that for me. He goes, I'm always the one that sponsors people, and I have to follow up with them. So if you can follow up with these marketing guys, that will speak volumes, and you will get sponsorships like crazy. Like, he told the owner of the company about it and showed him, like, look at how awesome this guy did for us and blah, blah, blah. That owner said, anytime that guy ever needs anything, send it to him. And, to this day, I still can call or text that guy, and boom, parts on my door next week, right? So it's all about building that relationship, because I stuck to my word too, right? So if you say you're going to do something, do it. I understand, and companies understand, that things happen. So sometimes you're thrashing for SEMA, you lost your spot, or who knows, whatever happens, the car doesn't make it. We understand. We can address that then. But usually if you're like, hey, this stuff happened, it was out of my control, or I took it to this racing event, I crashed the car, so I'm not going to be able to make it to these other ones, cool, I understand things happen, but communication is key. If you don't tell me that, and all I see is that, hey, I went to this one show and never went to anything else, I'm like, man, screw that guy. He didn't do what he said he was going to do, right? So communication and sticking to your word, huge things. So, like I said, really for me, the biggest 2 things is building that relationship and what can you do for me. So that's how I approach anytime I go to a company, is I'm building the relationship with them. So if they don't offer me a discount, I still buy the product. If it's full retail, I still buy the product, because if I'm going to hit them up, I want to show that I'm serious. For example, again, this last weekend, I was talking to a buddy. He's building a Camaro, and he needed some suspension. So he bought the entire front suspension for the Camaro, and then happened to have run into the suspension company. He hadn't bought the rear yet, and said, hey, I'm dead serious about your company. Let's talk. I want to do some sponsorship. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, guy. And he goes, look, I already bought the front, full price, didn't even talk to you guys. What can we do about the rear? And he hit him up. He gave him the proposal and told him what kind of value he can bring the company, and they were impressed, and now they're working out a deal on the rear suspension. So, also understand that you're a representative of the company, like I mentioned. So if you have an issue with the part, don't go blasting it on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. Talk to the manufacturer. I can't tell you how many times I've had a product that maybe didn't fit quite right, or this or that, or maybe it was like a prototype thing, or even just had a basic issue. And I just reach out to the manufacturer. Hey man, just letting you know I had to do this to make it work, or this broke, or blah 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 blah. And they appreciate that, because it's basically feedback for them too. You're not going out there thrashing them on the internet. I mean, how many times have you seen some guy that's like, hey, I bought these Billy Bob's wheels, and they won't fit on my car, and somebody goes, did you talk to the manufacturer? And they say no. It's like, well, that should be step number one. Always talk to the manufacturer. And it's even more important when you're trying to get sponsored and retain sponsorship with these companies. So anyways, that's kind of everything in a nutshell. Like I said, I know this is dragged on and it's a little bit long, but I've had lots of people ask me, like, how do I get sponsored? Or hey, you get sponsorships through XYZ company, get me parts. And it's like, no, I don't do that. I spent a lot of time and effort to build up those relationships with those companies. So you need to do it for yourself. So sure, sometimes I might introduce them to the right people, but for the most part, like, you got to stand on your own two legs here, and it's not me being mean. It's just, this is my reputation on the line, right? So if I put my reputation on the line for you and you screwed up, then not only did you screw yourself, but you're screwing me too, right? So anyways, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to get back out in the garage and get some more stuff done, and we'll see you next time.